Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and supported ministries and or nonprofits. So here they are, kicking off the new show, The Bucket List, Dr. Paul and Nancy. Take it away, guys.
Everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Coming on a little different way today, Nancy, since it's a new show with a new format, new ideas. We just want all of our old friends to know that we are still here, just a different day. We used to be on Fridays at this time. Now we're Mondays at this time. And the bucket list is designed to help those folks become aware of things they need to be planning, thinking about, becoming informed about.
Does that mean that you could be 30 and need to think about and just be aware, so when you get to be our age, you already know
Well, that's right.
you could run into?
Well, yesterday I was 30, so all the 30-year-olds need to know that tomorrow they'll be headed for 86.
That's right.
That's how fast time goes. So
right.
we feel like the content we're going to be presenting will be relevant to especially the people 50 and up, but those under 50 need to be aware of these things to help those 50 and above in their families with certain things. Some things are inevitable, like death and taxes. Those things, that's an old saying from north central Missouri where I grew up, that you could depend on death and taxes. Well, the scripture does say that it is appointed unto man once to die, and as far as we know, that has been the rule. And when it comes to taxes, we will be in future episodes giving a history of the income tax. Now, today what I want us to do is just sort of lay the groundwork for shows that are coming so that people will have an idea of some of the things we're going to be covering. I just mentioned income taxes and the history of income taxes, and but we'll also deal with other kinds of taxes that are directed toward certain municipalities, counties, and states, that sort of thing, so that no matter where our audience lives, they'll get the clues they need to check their tax status. Now, we heard just about a week ago that the current administration in Washington, D.C. has decided that they will push the deadline for filing personal income tax to May 17th instead of April 15th, May 17th. And it is certain there are numbers of people who are they don't have to file taxes because of age, that sort of thing. But
I got a question.
Yes.
Somebody give you a question. Should you pay for Social Security if you are under 40?
Yes. Quick answer. Yes.
That was a quick answer.
I will go into that in detail in a future broadcast, but suffice it to say that right now, when you consider other investment alternatives, I'd say Social Security measures up pretty well. Mm-hmm. And also, we want to remember that we have older generations that have worked since they were children. Like, I went to work when I was 7 years old. Of course, I didn't start paying Social Security at that young age, but there's a generation or two out there that they need the support of Social Security. I do know that the Social Security Trust Fund has been abrogated by many administrations in Washington. That is, they promised to put a lock on the Social Security Trust Fund, but that money goes right into the government operations because the government borrows from that trust fund. There's nothing in the Social Security treasure chest, in other words. But so Social Security is, in a sense, a tax and an investment, and it's a part of our system. I'll get into great detail on Social Security and the reason to continue to pay into it. Listen, when we have folks who are willing to put a lot of money in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and they don't even know what it's about or what backs it up or anything, I certainly wouldn't complain about Social Security. Now, there are some pitfalls about Social Security that people will need to know about, and I will point out those pitfalls, too, about when is the best time to start taking Social Security. Some people wait until they are like 70 or 72. I don't necessarily recommend that. There are other people that take it as early as possible, depending on your age. Someone my age, for instance, was eligible to start receiving Social Security at age 62. It was a smaller rate than if you waited until 65, and that was smaller than if you waited till 70. Well, as we've gotten a population that lives longer, they've raised those ages, and we'll get into what those ages are and give some people some good guidance. We will give facts and figures on the difference between taking Social Security, we'll say, at 64 and taking it at 67. How much difference there is in the monthly draw and what that can mean over a normal lifespan. Then people can make their choice. Also, in regard to Social Security, we need to point out that not everybody receives a check in the mail. More and more and more, it's by automatic deposit to a checking account. Therefore, the banking industry is involved very much in the Social Security industry. It's part of the government industry, and we are participants in it. Just like if you go to Walmart and buy something, you're participating in, box store successes, big box stores, they call them, whatever. You buy a new vehicle from anybody, you're participating in the system. When you are involved with Social Security, you're involved in the system that even involves the banking system. Now, it gets even more interesting because recently they have started providing newer Social Security recipients a card. It's like a debit card. And they use that and to pay for stuff, and then every month the government reloads it. So that's a new wrinkle on Social Security. A lot of stuff out there, and we will be getting into it. We will get into that, and the IRS. I get a publication at least 3 or 4 times a day, 5 days a week, online from the Internal Revenue Service. And I keep those in a computer folder file, and tells me everything I want to know and a lot of stuff I don't want to know about the Internal Revenue Service in regard to personal income taxes involved, to corporate taxes, regarding even the reporting that has to be done by nonprofits. So we got a world of material out there, Nancy, a world of material. We're going to be getting into it. Okay. I also want to make certain that people understand that if they get in touch with this show through axmediagroup.com, they get in touch with this show, they will get in touch with me, and we will do the research that they want done, and we'll provide them with the answers. We can't do it all on the air live, so we'll do a lot of it in the background.
So does that mean that sometimes people need to let us know their phone numbers or their email address or something?
Sure.
So you can do that?
When they go through the website, axmediagroup.com, they can leave their information and say, we want to know what Dr. Paul and Nancy have to say about this and on the bucket list, and they brought up this, and we need to know more about it, and we will respond. I'll do the research. I'll get online. That's part of what I do, and I will give them the answers with the best authority that is at my command to access. In regard to that, we'll also be able to make referrals. If people are looking for the right kind of assistance with their taxes, as far as filing taxes and staying on top of it and how to keep your records, we'll make referrals on that to people who are experts who can help them. And in most instances, unless they decide to go with that person, there would be no charge. That person has said, I will be glad to be a resource. Then if they become a client, that's another matter. That's their business. We'll be able to make referrals about financial planning. More and more and more, I'm convinced that the people that are our targeted audience, so to speak, need to have a good financial planner. I wish I'd had one back when I was 50, when I was 40. Wish I'd had one when I first started working. What a difference it could have made. You see, we can't I don't think we can be experts in everything. And we've become very dependent upon, like in the case of mortgages, the mortgage companies, the closing companies, the real estate industry, because we don't specialize in real estate. We don't specialize in mortgages and loans, but we can give people good referrals where they can get the information they need before they take a step that might be a misstep in regard to all things financial. A financial planner can take the guesswork out of Wall Street. There are various funds that are a part of the stock market that a financial planner can involve a person in, and those funds, if you really deal with your financial planner, and the financial planner is certified, he or she knows enough about these various funds that are based on the stock market to do some investing for you, and the rates they charge, they'll be able to tell you what percentage they charge, and it can make you some money rather than costing you a lot of money. Anyway, we can make referrals about that. Nancy, we'll also, we'll make referrals about various health issues. Now, we are not doctors. We're not practitioners of any kind or any form of medicine, but I've lived through a lot of doctors. I've outlived doctors. And I've got some doctors that'll outlive me. But I've had a lot of experience with doctors, and so have you. And we've had a lot of experience with health issues. We can provide people with the kind of information that will make their doctor visits better. For instance, one of the things I promote is that everyone should be a good cooperating partner in their own health care. Don't view your physician as an enemy. Make the physician your friend and simply say to him or her, I'm here, I'm cooperating, I want to be a good partner in my health care. And it's amazing what a difference it makes. They'll spend more time with you because you stop being just a number on their computer screen on their laptop, and you become a person. And it's all I can say is take my word for it. It does work. And it works not only with your primary care physician, it works with your specialist. It works with my cardiologist. We're friendly. And when he felt like I probably ought to have a pacemaker, he was kind enough to suggest it. He didn't say you have to do this, but here's what he advised. And he has another cardiologist who specializes in pacemakers, and they consulted, and I consulted. I was a good partner in it, and it was determined, yes, a pacemaker would be helpful, not because I had heart failure, but because chambers of my heart weren't talking to each other properly. So I have a state-of-the-art pacemaker. It's got 3 wires, not just 2, but 3. That's the maximum you can have. So out of the 4 chambers of the heart, 3 of them are wired, and they stay in rhythm, talking to each other properly. Folks, I call my pacemaker my gizzard. Every chicken has a gizzard, so I call it my gizzard, and I gave it a name, the nickname that I grew up with, Buddy. So my gizzard is Buddy, and I'm very thankful to have Buddy. He monitors me all the time and reports to the Heart Center how I'm doing. That's what you call partnership with your healthcare providers. Be a good partner.
There's a lot of symbolism in what you're talking about when you're talking about being a good partner with your doctor. That's like people that are Christian. They need to be good partners with the Holy Spirit.
Learn about him.
That's right.
And partner with him.
That's
definitely.
right.
We will also give folks, I think, some good referral and information and referrals about diet. Now, there are folks who made a kind of a joke out of the word diet. They said it's die with a T on the end. Well,
They
everybody.
could say die with a cross on the end.
Yeah, there you go. This is my little preacher over here. But everybody's on a diet. The diet refers to what we are consuming on a regular basis. And some folks show the evidence of a diet that is really not good for the human body. And it's become really a major issue among the citizens of the United States of America, to the extent that there's an industry of diet facilitators, people with a special diet. They are many. They're on television with ads. They are on the internet, all kinds of diets. In fact, a little bit of human interest right here in, by the way, folks, we're in Springfield, Missouri, and if you remember the old happy hour show, I always referred to my adopted hometown that I love very much as Springburg, USA. So right here in little old Springburg, USA, we had a couple of ladies that appeared on a TV show called the Shark Tank. And there's some heavy hitter investors on there that are the panel, and people present their ideas for a product and so forth, and seeking the investment of the sharks. And there's usually 4 sharks. Anyway, or 4 or 5, I think 5 sharks. Anyway, these 2 ladies from Springburg, USA, had a diet thing to get rid of belly fat. Now think about that. There's a lot of folks that have a problem with belly fat. And I remember a book that came out about getting rid of your, what was it, about wheat belly? Stop eating wheat and get rid of.
But there's also the insulin resistance
Yes.
area, and that's the belly too.
Yeah, and that's very real. But anyway, these 2 ladies, they sold the sharks on their product, and I think it's the only time in the history of that show, and it's about 3 years old, that all 5 sharks invested.
My goodness.
And those ladies live in Springburg, USA, and they have this product. It's a diet product that they say burns belly fat. Okay. So health, diet, we'll be able to make some referrals. There's a lot of information out there, and I've been able to accumulate some of it in various website folders in my computer, so that if someone has a desire to look into this or that or the other, I just direct them to some people who can direct them from there. That's all. And I'm certainly not giving out advice. I'm just going to tell them where they can find the professionals. Same way with, like those ladies, theirs is what we would call a diet supplement. Well, there's all kinds of supplements, and we'll be able to refer people who are interested in supplements. We know one source that is very reliable, and they were at one time being mentioned on Axe Media Group a lot. We'll be able to make some good referrals for folks. Now, another arena, back to the money thing. we have a lot of people concerned about our currency, and older people especially remember when the dollar was worth something, worth a lot more than it is now. And those of you who are not 85 like I am, don't discount the older generation, the World War II generation. We do keep up with things, and we remember when the dollar was no longer based on the gold standard and that sort of thing. And we are aware of what is called fiat currency. We will be keeping up. I'm keeping up now. We'll be keeping up on the American economy, the global economy, the state of the dollar. We'll be keeping up with other possibilities like silver and gold. We'll be keeping up with all of this and be able to make proper referrals. If people, well, for instance, Nancy, we see one of the older actors on television who does a commercial about gold. And in fact, he played John F. Kennedy in PT 109 or whatever that boat was that John F. Kennedy was commander of. And he did a good job playing the part of John F. Kennedy. It was a good choice, good casting. Well, the only place we see him now is on television doing these commercials for gold. Mm-hmm. And he does a good job with it. But you see, I want older people to realize that just because something's on television and just because they have a celebrity spokesperson who sort of represents their generation, whatever, that doesn't necessarily mean it is the thing to do. Mm-hmm. We've had any number of older people who bought what we used to call up North Central Missouri a pig and a poke, you know. We've had too many older people taken in and using their credit cards lavishly, we would say, and buying into something and not getting what they thought they were getting. And but you see, this is something that happens not only with somebody in our age group. Nancy's 75, I'm 85, I'll be 86 in June. But it happens also to the 50-somethings. It happens to the 60-somethings. It happens to the 40-somethings.
I know, but see, the thing of it is, the reason why people even younger than who you mentioned is because they need to start listening. Something I wished I had done when I was 20, in my teen years.
Yeah, sure.
So that I would know what's coming up, and I wouldn't be hit, even though probably I didn't want to listen or hadn't even thought about it. But people even younger than that need to be listening. So if the Lord tarries and they get close to our age or our age, they will have hopefully heard it all.
Well, good point. Very good point. Well taken. We have become a consumer-based society rather than a production-based society, and that's one reason why so many of the products come from overseas. And consumerism is one of the reasons why there's such heavy credit card debt. And it's not all just with young people and college students. There's a lot of heavy credit card debt with older people. I know one older gentleman who had credit card debt of like $60,000 on a retirement income. That's unreal. But I knew another one who was struggling because his wife watched a lot of TV and she wanted to buy everything that showed up on those shopping channels. So the younger ones need to be aware of the older ones. The older ones need to be aware of the younger ones. Let's do this thing together. Mm-hmm. Yes, we are consumers, but let's not be such lovers of the world that we sell ourselves into financial slavery. So we're going to be dealing with these kind of topics. And if you're going to be investing in gold or silver, get some expert advice, not just some voice and some image on television. Talk to somebody who knows about these things. We have a couple of stores right here in Springburg, USA, that you can walk into and buy silver and gold of all kinds. You can look at it, you can touch it, you can feel it. There are other ways too, and it's more reliable. Also, here's something that's close to my heart that I want us to deal with in future broadcasts. Now, folks, what we're talking about today, these various topics we're jumping around on from one to another. In future broadcasts, we're going to take one topic and drill deep, whether it's financial planning, whether it's taxes, whether it's Social Security, whether it's precious metals, whether it's health or diet, whatever it is, we're going to drill deep. We're going to take one topic per show and get down into it. We will even deal with educational opportunities for older adults. Mm-hmm. You don't have to stop learning. There are ways, we will tell you ways that you can pick a topic and become schooled in it with very minimum amount of computer ability. And some of them you will actually be given a certificate upon completion that's you can hang on the wall and look at it, that you have become very proficient in certain academic areas. This can we have the contacts with a man who's a PhD in New Testament Greek. He's a former university professor. He's in his 70s. He teaches an online course in beginning Greek, and among other things. But some of you have been wanting to learn another language. How about Greek? So that you can read the Greek New Testament. But there are other courses out there for other languages as well. If you've been putting off learning a second language, you can do it. We'll get into that, drill deep into educational opportunities. We'll also get very deep into volunteer opportunities, volunteerism. When you get to be so-called retired, that doesn't mean you should just be tired all the time. It means that you can have a change of pace. There's some wonderful volunteer opportunities. And some of them, now you'll be presented with some opportunities that are not good. But we'll be able to sift through these for you. And again, if you want information on any of this, contact us through axmediagroup.com. And Ax is A-C-T-S, axmediagroup.com. And they will see that we're informed, and we'll take it from there. And please tell all of your friends, even if they're under 50, if they can be with us on Mondays at this time or catch it later through the website. They need to know these things for the generation standing in front of them and that's going on. Nancy, here's the topic I was going to get around to that's very dear to my heart. Publishing books. Some of you who are senior citizens, you have had experiences that should be written down and preserved for those who follow you, your family members. You can publish a book. I can tell you how. I've helped other people do it. To me, it's not a complicated thing. To you, it may seem complicated, but it's not. If you have a book, you think you have a book inside you, contact us. Because if you don't write that book, nobody else is going to write it. Right now, we're dealing with a lady from Poland who struggles with the English language, but her husband was a co-worker with Lech Walesa in Poland during the Solidarity Movement days that brought down communism in Poland. He was put in prison by the communists. And when he got out, because he was so effective at what he did, the communist government actually ordered him to leave the country. That's unusual. So they went from there to West Germany, and finally, even though they were Roman Catholic, they were welcomed into Springburg, USA, and sponsored by First Baptist Church. He's now deceased, but his wife has been writing and sending me the material, and I have someone who does some writing for the Real News Review on Ax Media Group, poised to help, that we will put her material together in a small book, and then there'll be a larger book with documents and pictures and all that. That story will be told from an insider inside the Solidarity Movement in Poland. I think it's, so anyway, we will drill deep on publishing so that we will tell you a lot of things in a future broadcast about what you can do to start putting your book together. Now, Nancy, I also want to make certain that we tell people, the senior age group, the value of having good legal counsel. A lot of jokes have been made about lawyers, but lawyers are a fact of life. They are needed. Life is pretty complicated, and people of a certain age need to start thinking about their estate planning. We did, and with the estate planning, we we not only had a financial planner involved, we not only had a CPA involved, but primarily we had a lawyer involved. And he put the whole package together so that we don't have to worry about it. We know about our estate. And that's another whole story. But that's another one of the topics that we will drill down on really deep, really deep. We just had a call trying to come in. I'm not sure if it was a call for the show or not. If it was, whoever the caller is, I apologize. I accidentally turned you off instead of turning you on. Nancy, what do you want to throw in at this point in time as we're looking ahead to broadcast we're going to do?
One of the things that bothers me, I can look back as far as I can remember and wish that all those, 65 years ago, that I had been paying attention. And you've heard me so many times say this. 65 years ago, I'd been about 10. And this isn't where what kids would normally think of, but be listening to what my mom and dad said about this problem or that problem or how they're going to take care of something, and then asking, well, what about this or that, or what does that mean? Because time goes so quickly, and when you're a kid, it's almost like you can do anything and have your own way or whatever. But the older you get, even into the teen years and say the 20s, you wished you would have listened. But maybe you're still too young, even when you're 20 or 25, to think about stuff that's ahead, because that seems like it's such a long time before that gets here. No, that's not right. It's literally, it'll just be tomorrow, like your mom said in the vision you had.
Right. Well, this brings up an interesting idea that the older generation needs to find a way to bridge backwards.
Yeah.
We have a tendency to try to say to the younger generations, well, here we are, pay attention to us. No, maybe we need to build a bridge backwards. Maybe we need to build a bridge back to the younger ones so that we can relate to them and they begin to receive our counsel, our input based on our experience. Speaking of that, when in this whole arena of health, we know that we have family members who are, some people have family members that are in nursing homes. I know your mom and dad were both in a nursing home. The nursing home industry is huge, and because of the coronavirus, it's received a lot of press, some of it good, some of it bad. But the experience that you've had with nursing homes and that I've had, we will be able, for those folks who have family members in a nursing home, or those who think they may end up going to a nursing home, or those who think they have family members that they will have to place in a nursing home, come to us through the website, Axe Media Group, and they'll put us in touch, and we'll put them in touch with the people who have the answers. We had to go through, for instance, in the case of your parents, the division of assets. We went all the way to the capital city of Missouri, to the department, to the vice president or assistant director of that department to find out what to do. And then we found an older lawyer who was retired, but he came out of retirement because he helped write the laws about the division of assets. And he helped us. And that was a valuable thing that we learned, very valuable. Now, in our estate planning, we found out that our young lawyer knew a lot about end-of-life issues and in the event of nursing homes, what happens to your property and how to protect it. This is valuable information. You don't have to give up everything to go to a nursing home. There are other options to giving up everything, even if you go to a nursing home. Now, we have a plethora of retirement facilities now. We have apartment complexes for those 55 and older. We have retirement homes for those 65 and older. And so the choices out there are many, and some people kind of put off any thoughts about, what am I going to do when I get to be a certain age? They'd rather not think about it. Kind of like Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, when she'd say, oh, well, I'll think about that tomorrow.
Well, see, the thing of it is, it's almost like a whole lifetime can be in, I'll do that tomorrow. And you end up, I'm going to put this bluntly, you get caught with your pants down.
That's pretty blunt. Okay, before we do a little final wrap, let me, I'm going to try, by the way, in future editions, to open up with news. News hot off the press for that day. Now, I realize some of these shows will be dated, but when you look back, if you're watching a rerun, you'll say, oh, yeah, that was what happened. We'll have a little news segment. How's that? But I'll also have some information about, like, media bias in a divided nation. Wow. 72% of Americans believe that traditional major news sources report news they know to be fake, false, or purposely misleading. How about that? 72% of Americans believe that. There's a lot of discussion going on about traditional values and that sort of thing. I also want us to have some inspiration time. So we're going to have news, then we're going to drill down on topics, then we'll have a little inspiration time before we leave the air each time. A sample of that would be right now, springtime. What a wonderful time to remember the poem Trees by Joyce Kilmer. And by the way, Joyce was a man. There were men who were named Joyce.
Just like Kim.
Yeah, we have a friend, his name is Kimberly. He has no middle name, so he has no choice. He's either Kimberly or Kim. And he was, we were kind of bantering back and forth, kidding, you know. And I said, well, we'll come up with a new name for you. And so he was going along with that. Well, we'd been in Branson with some friends, and on the way back, we were in the car, we were talking about finding a new name for Kim. So I called him, and I said, the four of us have agreed, Kim, we've got a new name for you. We're going to call you Sue. Because we were thinking about Johnny Cash's big hit, You Can Call Me Sue. Anyway, Trees by Joyce Kilmer. Now, the trees are leafing out now, and dogwoods are in bloom here in the Ozarks. Here's what Joyce Kilmer wrote. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And that's classic.
Yeah.
By the way, some of the poems that we'll be offering will be poems that were written by our old friend and he was my associate pastor. He died in the month of November, this past November, from COVID, Bruce Pearson. Bruce was a prolific writer of poetry, and I have some of his, and once in a while I'll read a poem that was written by our friend Bruce Pearson, and but also as a part of inspiration, I like to think about great classic songs, not just classic poetry or poetry by someone like Bruce. And Bruce, by the way, was in his 70s when this happened. But here's words of a song that many of you of the age group that we're targeting, you can identify with. The chimes of time ring out the news, another day is through. Someone slipped and fell. Was that someone you? You may have longed for added strength, your courage to renew. Do not be disheartened, for I have news for you. It is no secret what God can do. What he's done for others, he'll do for you. With arms wide open, he'll pardon you. It is no secret what God can do. There is no night, for in his light you never walk alone. Always feel at home wherever you may go. There is no power can conquer you while God is on your side. Take him at his promise. Don't run away and hide. It is no secret what God can do. What he's done for others, he'll do for you. With arms wide open, he'll pardon you. It is no secret what God can do. That was written by Stuart Hamlin. He was a friend of Roy Rogers. And Roy Rogers' first name, before he changed it, was Leonard Sly. And he said, my mama still calls me Lenny. So Leonard Sly became Roy Rogers, and Roy Rogers and Stuart Hamlin were great buddies. They liked to mountain lion hunt together. So coming up when we are ready to do the next broadcast, we are going to zero in and drill down on taxes, income tax, because a week from today will be like the 12th, and that would be close to the normal filing time. People will have a month after that. I think it's a good time to really deal with the history of the income tax and provide folks with some good insights for the late filers, because there'll be a number of people listening who will be late filers. And listen, just because people get to be our age doesn't mean that they don't necessarily have to file taxes. There are many people in our age range that still have to file personal income tax every year. So we'll dig in on that and dig deep. What do you think of our layout so far as programming and what we'll be doing?
Oh, I think it's good. I think there's a lot of people that are going to find, oh, thank you, Jesus. They may end up, well, I don't need to know anything about that. But when we get on the wardio, as you say, then they may, I didn't know that. I never thought about that.
Nancy uses the word warleo for radio because I have a nephew. When he was a little kid, he talked about the warleo instead of the radio. Yeah, so we remember. That little kid is now 75 years old, by the way. By now, I think he's learned to say radio. What we're doing, Nancy, is vitally important because this media of live streaming and using Facebook and YouTube and other social media platforms as a television, really, people can see this on their computer screens. They can also, by hookup, see it on their TV screen. And so we're making use of technology that did not exist when I was a kid.
I know that's right.
Far from it. When I was a kid, we could barely get a radio station. There was a lot of static. But on Saturday nights, my folks would try to listen to the Grand Ole Opry all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. And it was WSM. And they once in a while could hear enough to kind of become fond of Minnie Pearl and Roy Acuff and so forth, who were old-time performers. Then there was a radio station in Columbia, Missouri, which was south of my hometown, about 35 miles. And when they came on the air, they had a guy that was a Native American cowboy who played the guitar and sang, and he did a whole show. And one time, and he was recording that show, and it was being played. And one time when we were leaving Sedalia, headed back toward North Missouri, we knew where he lived. He had a gas station, 2 pumps that you pump by hand, and it was built back in a hillside, just a simple little gas station. And there he was. We stopped. My mom was eager to meet this radio personality. Well, we've come a long way since then to now we're internet, social media based, no telling where we're going because it is the World Wide Web, and people hear us all over the world. And You don't have to be a citizen of the United States to learn about some of the things we're going to talk about. We got to be quick. We're about to be out of time here.
Yep, board and hound.
Okay. All right. Next week, we're going to focus on the Internal Revenue Service, the history of the income tax. We're going to focus on getting assistance in filing. We're going to focus on who needs to file and when the absolute deadline is. And if you can't meet that deadline, what your options are about filing a request for late returns. We're going to cover the ground next week. Everything that you maybe didn't want to know about the IRS, but we're going to tell you. So whatever you do, you tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell your in-laws and your outlaws. Tune in, because we're dealing with the bucket list. Right at the bottom of your bucket is talk about taxes. We're going to dig it up and hold it up and wave it. How's that, Matthew?
Sounds good.
Okay, well, we're out of here. Want everybody to stay blessed. Until next Monday, see you then.